What's up, everybody? Legacy here with episode 4 of The Climb, and today I have a very special guest. It is ZooTay. ZooTay, say what's up to everyone.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Thank you for being on the show. So if you guys haven't watched The Climb yet, basically I take industry professionals, pro players, content creators, talk to them about their climb and their journey to get to where they are. And today we have the first PUBG Mobile player on the show. So ZooTay, tell us about your journey from the start in mobile gaming for you.
Mobile gaming for me, it actually started with this game, to be honest. So for me, I never really had a really good PC setup to play all the higher end games. And I remember when PUBG first came out on the PC, it was like a huge game. Like everyone was playing it. I would watch people play on Twitch all the time. Like Shroud and stuff, and I just always thought it was a cool game. Never got a chance to try it, and then I heard it came out on mobile one day, and it being a mobile game, I wasn't expecting much. I was expecting like a miniaturized version of PUBG, right? There's like a lot of those imitation games on mobile of PC games where it's like half the game. It's not like the actual game, but when I downloaded it and played it, it was pretty amazing. Like you play on the whole entirety of like the Miramar map or Erangel map. Like the looting, everything is like really similar. So I had a lot of fun with the game when it first came out. I wasn't expecting to go pro or anything. I was just playing for fun. Loved the game, played it a lot. And then when the comp scene started to grow, I was already like one of the players that were grinding on the leaderboards, and yeah.
Wow, so literally this is the first mobile game you've played.
Yeah, more or less. I played like some other like just games here and there, just because it's convenient, on the phone. But those games I just played to like pass the time. Other games I played were like, a little bit of fun, but it wasn't like a game that I would be like, I would really want to play this right now, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, coming into a game and not knowing there was going to be a competitive scene or much less an eSports scene, how has this experience changed your life?
It's honestly, it's amazing, really, because so like growing up, I always loved watching esports. I was always a spectator, right? And I think when you love something and you're just a spectator, the chance to all of a sudden be a part of that like scene, like esports, like whether you're planning on it or not, it's amazing. Because like number one for me, I guess it mostly stems from like the way my parents brought me up, right? Like I love playing video games, but parents are like, you're not doing anything with it though. You're just, wasting your time, stuff like that. And so to be able to be a spectator of something you love and then all of a sudden be involved in it, and then to be a person that's like, doing something, because now I started streaming, also. I have like a couple thousand followers on Twitch. I have like 5,000 plus on Twitter now, and it's just all from just gaming, and it was all unexpected. So it's really like a blessing for me.
That's amazing. So you have the typical, hey, my parents aren't really going to support me in this because they think you're wasting your time. Has their ideas changed now that you've traveled the world and stuff like that and played in these big tournaments?
A little bit. So obviously, I'm still in school. So for them, education is still it still always comes first, right? And I'm at an age where I should have like a career job. And so when I do talk to them, like they still stress that. They still stress like, how are you doing in school? When are you going to graduate? What are your thoughts about like a career job? And they do try and tie it with gaming. Like for example, like Tencent is the public. I don't know the technicalities of it, but Tencent I know is like a big owner of PUBG Mobile. I think they have like the publishing rights and the developer rights. Don't quote me on that. But Tencent's closely affiliated with it, right? And so my parents would just ask me stuff like, so like, would this help you get connections with Tencent and get a job, with Tencent in the future? Which, I would love to do because it ties closely to gaming,
Hmm.
but they're not so much supportive of like the whole content creation esports aspect of it, as in like being a competitive player or becoming a content creator, right? They still have a more traditional mindset of, okay, well, Tencent's a very big, respectful company. Are you going to work for them in the future? Are you like, do you have like connections? And they're like, make sure when you go to these events, they're like, establish connections with Tencent
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Well,
So
at least they somewhat support you in
yeah,
the idea and
somewhat.
concept, and that's something more. That's
Hmm.
like 90% more than most parents, at
Yes,
your
for
age would
sure.
do. So that's a good step. That's a stepping stone. That's definitely a stepping stone.
Yeah.
So have they actually been to any of these events that you've played at, and have they seen you play on stage?
They've seen me play on Twitch, or yeah, they've seen me play on stage via Twitch or like YouTube,
Okay.
right? Like streamed events. They've never been there in person. Um, so I I don't know. I don't really push for them to like come out or anything either. So maybe if I did, my mom might like show up. But for me, like it's already more than enough that they just allow it, right?
Hmm.
Like they're okay with it, and the fact that they ask me questions about it too, like
Yeah, they're
so
curious.
yeah, yeah, like that for me is already enough of like that's already a huge support for me. Like them simply asking me like, "How's your team doing? How's the scene doing?"
That's cool.
And yeah, that's really cool. So like, if they wanted to come out, like that'd be over the top for me. But
That would be over
um,
the top. Uh,
yeah,
so that brings me on to my next question. For those who have never played at a live event, describe the emotions, the feelings, and the atmosphere. Obviously, you've been to many. I've seen the pictures of
yeah.
your lanyards on the wall. Talk about that experience. Especially because you talked earlier about how you were a spectator and now you have fans cheering for you. What is that like?
It's crazy, really. First off, like the fans. It's really cool. It's like super humbling too, because I've always been one to like look up to other people, right? I think a vast majority of people growing up, they all have people they look up to, but they never expect to be in a position where you have others looking up to them, like yourself. And so having fans is it's really amazing. I try and just I try and emulate the feelings that my idols give me, right? So like when growing up, I looked at a lot of different figures for like motivation and stuff, and I just remember when I see someone do super motivating stuff, like the feeling I get from it is like I could conquer the world, or I feel like I have a direction in life. So now that people are looking up to me now, even though it's just through like PUBG Mobile, even though it's just a video game, I try and like present myself in a way where it motivates them to do whatever it is they love, regardless of if it's like they want to be a better player in PUBG Mobile or they just see me like grinding and pushing myself and they grind and push themselves, whether it be school, family, job, whatever the case may be. So the fan aspects of like, you know, everything that came from this, it's really, really amazing and something that I really, really love. And then to answer your other question of what the events are like, the events are, to travel and it's in itself is like really cool. You go to all these nice events, and then I think Tencent, they definitely hold some of the nicer events, right? They have the budget to
Hmm.
book a really nice hotel for all the players. Their venues are always really cool. Um, like a vast majority of the venues I've been to is like all custom built. It's like for specifically for their event. So that's really cool to see because by the time we get there, they're still like building it too, so we could see like the venue being built and playing at these live events. There's definitely a lot of pressure, but once you like hop into the game, for me anyways, once the game starts and you're just like dialed in on your phone and you're just playing, it it honestly feels like playing at home. Like the nervousness level is like for me more or less the same. Like playing at a big online qualifier, I feel a certain amount of nervousness. And then when I play in person at these live events, when we're actually playing the game, it feels more or less the same. Like everything just gets blocked out for me, right? The
Hmm.
crowds, the stage, everything just it just gets completely blocked out. But leading up to the event, like at a live event, I definitely feel more nervous, right? Like when we're waiting to get on stage, when like we see all these people, like it's definitely more nerve wracking than playing from home.
Yeah, they
But
do the hype intros and all that stuff. Like the PUBG mobile events definitely go all out, and
mhm.
especially from a spectator standpoint, me watching the events, they definitely pull out all the production, and it's like up there with like a League of Legends broadcast. It's pretty amazing to see.
Yeah.
Um, so you throughout your career, I've kind of followed you for a while. You've been on some of the best teams in North America. Um, do you feel like you have any added pressure playing for the top teams generally throughout the last few years, or do you just like you were saying, hey, it's just kind of like another day in the office?
Um kind of kind of both. So I guess like a good way to answer that question is like from the very beginning, I already set myself to a very high standard, right? So even when I wasn't, on a signed team, and even when I haven't traveled to all these events yet, I already set myself on a high standard of like I want to be, one of the top players. I want to compete at the highest of levels, as far as North America is concerned. And so when I did get there, and now I'm already playing at that level, I didn't feel like more pressure because that pressure was already instilled upon myself since the beginning, more or less, right?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you set your standards high and put yourself at an expectation and a higher ceiling, then it just makes it easier for you to try and to achieve that. You've already set your limit and set your max. So
Hmm.
I feel like what the last thing for you guys to do is to win one, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
you've had multiple roster changes. Like you are the core of your team. It seems to be the standard. So moving forward into these upcoming tournaments, like realistically, how do you feel you guys will hold up compared to some of the other competition right now?
So right now, there's been a big, relatively recent change. So Space Station Gaming, they were one of the like most respected teams in North America, right? And unfortunately, this past PMCO, they didn't qualify. They didn't make top five. And right around the same time of them not qualifying, their contracts were expiring on that date.
Hmm.
And for Space Station, it just didn't make sense to re-sign their players. And so essentially, all of Space Station became free agents. Now, one of the endgame leaders, the captains, so to say, on Space Station, he goes by the name of Juicy. Um, he's a player that as a captain myself, an endgame leader myself, he's a player that I highly respected and firmly believed he is the one player from NA, as far as captain and endgame leader wise, that is capable of pushing a team to the very top. Um, and so when he became a free agent, like me and my teammates and the org owners, like we all had a talk. We all agreed, Juicy would be a very good pickup, and a lot of other teams wanted him too.
Mhm.
And luckily for us, we managed to pick up Juicy. And so right now, Juicy is the main in-game leader, and that was my previous role. And so with PUBG Mobile, you know, you have 4 players on a team, and there's like different roles or jobs for each player, more or less. And so now I think Juicy's has a way better potential as far as in-game leader wise. Like I was always a great in-game leader, but Juicy is like just the way he sees the game is like on a different level, right? And so he's now assumed the in-game leader role, and I have to try and fit into a different role now.
Mhm.
And with that being said, um, there's a lot of stuff for me to work on now. And there's a lot of stuff for the team to work on because our whole entire the way we play the game is completely
Yeah,
different.
your chemistry is different now.
Yeah, it's and this play style is also different, which in the long run, if you ask me, my honest opinion is for the better. But currently, to summarize our play style, it requires a lot more focus in the sense of we're constantly pushing and looking for opportunities now
Hmm.
rather than only making plays when necessary, right? So the chances for mistakes to happen are way more frequent than the play style we had before. It could go both ways. For example, Space Station in the group stage and in the semi stage, they absolutely dominated, right? Playing their style. They picked up a lot of kills. They were like, you know, super standout. Come to the finals though, you know, they're still playing the same way, but sometimes, you know, a mistake will happen, a slip up will happen. And the chances for that to happen are more often with that play style.
Hmm.
But the reward, you know, with that play style is super huge if done correctly.
Yeah, high risk, high reward.
Yeah, and so right now it's a high risk, high reward situation for the team, and the next stage of PMCO, which is PMPL, it's been delayed, which is a really good thing for us, which allows us to refine and practice this new play style some more.
Hmm. Yeah, I see. Obviously Cloud9 is going to be there. I see Pittsburgh Knights qualified again. It is sad to
Hmm.
see SSG not make it, but it obviously benefits you. And then also maybe in some way takes a little bit of pressure off of you as the IGL. But you did say you have to look at the game differently now. But I feel like in the long run, maybe that will be better, like you said. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to play out. Obviously,
Hmm.
it's going to play out online. I want to shift away from the comp scene stuff because I feel like I don't want you to give away a lot of stuff that you guys are doing. So what
All
is
right.
your favorite place that you've traveled so far due to PUBG Mobile? And then what was like the best food?
Okay, so okay, those are both two easy questions because the answer immediately jumped into my head. So favorite place so far would definitely be Dubai. Um, yeah, it's freaking Dubai,
It
you
is,
know?
yes, it is Dubai. I mean, it's like the adult rich playground.
Yeah, so Dubai, let's see what like the we went to the I think what tower the Petronas Tower is I'm not sure if I forgot the name. I'm really bad at remembering like names and stuff. Oh, the Burj. It's called the Burj. It's the highest tower in the world, I
Oh
believe.
yeah, that's where they shot like the Fast and Furious stuff in Mission Impossible.
Yeah, so like we were there, and when I say Dubai, like it's literally Dubai, like the super rich city. We went to like a mall that had every entertainment like facility known to man in one building. I'm
Oh my
talking
god.
there's a movie theater in the mall. There's an amusement park in the mall, like roller coasters. There's an ice rink in the mall. What else do you go out? Like there were clubs in the mall. Um,
Wow.
every like high end fashion in the mall. And the funny thing was like one floor would be like Gucci and like Louis Vuitton and all of that, and then one floor above them would be the same thing, but for kids.
Oh
Like it'd be
god.
it'd be like the kids store for Louis Vuitton and the kids store for Gucci, and it's just like the amount of wealth that city has is like it's insane, and yeah,
And that
and
was off
we
of the Star Challenge, right? The very first event, right?
uh yes, yeah, it was the very first event, the very first global championship event that for PUBG Mobile was at Dubai. And we were flown out there very early too, which is another cool thing that I like what Tencent does. They fly out the players like a bit earlier, so it's not like you show up and then the very next day you're just playing the tournament, and then right after the tournament is over, they fly you out. They usually fly us out like a couple days in advance, so we get a chance to be tourists, like have
Experience it
a
and sink it in.
yeah, it's great. So that's by far my favorite place. Food wise, I would say would have to be when we went to Malaysia. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I definitely love Asian food. And Malaysia, and the other cool thing about Malaysia was some of my fans or supporters. They live in Malaysia, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
So yeah, so they know the place. We were at Kuala Lumpur, so they know the city pretty well. And one of them, took us out to like a spot that they knew, and I think it's the food we have is like tiki masala, I believe, and it's like one of those local spots, right, where
Mhm.
only like locals know about. And my girlfriend's looking at me weird. I think I said something wrong. It's probably not called tiki masala.
First of all, it's called tikka masala.
Oh, tikka
But
masala.
it's not even tikka masala.
Okay. Anyways, like the what I loved about this spot was not only the food, but it's like down this alleyway, right? So like and they had like chairs set up, and the kitchen is like it's just super in the open and you can see all of it. And what I really loved is like it really gave you the Malaysia vibe. It's not like we sat down in a restaurant
Mhm.
where you have like every place you travel to there's restaurants, but this one was like it's different. You go down like an alleyway, and like this whole alleyway is lined up with a bunch of seats, and it's like packed full, and the food was super good, and each plate of food was only like $2.
Oh, wow.
Like
It's called nasi lemak, which
oh
is a national dish of Malaysia, and it was like $1 or less.
okay, not yeah. And so the food was on point there, the vibe was on point, like it felt super like local.
Mhm.
It was
Lets you
like
really experience the culture.
yeah, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, it really let me experience the culture, and that was like my favorite part of it.
Absolutely. I mean, now you're making me want to try it. So
Mhm.
so now, do you have any advice? Because you started your career with high expectations. What kind of advice would you give for people that maybe that semi-pro and looking to take the next step as a player, but also what kind of advice would you give for someone who just wants to do content?
Okay, so as far as like players go, right now, so with how I got to where I was, I would definitely say I got lucky in the sense of timing wise, right? So I was involved in the game in the very beginning when competition essentially isn't as big, right? When there isn't a pro scene yet established, there's less people trying to grind to become pros because there simply wasn't a scene for it. And so for me, I stood out more so early on, not only because, I was grinding leaderboards, but just because there wasn't a huge influx of players yet.
Hmm.
At this time, there's definitely a bigger influx of players, and so it's harder to get noticed. With that being said, it's all about getting noticed now. Um, if you're not at the stage where you're already a really good player in the sense of mechanics, game knowledge, that type of stuff, you can always grind that, right? You could practice, you could sign up for scrims, you could watch footage, watch how other players play, try and emulate them. That to me is the easy part. right? I think the hard part now for a lot of players that are looking to go pro is getting noticed. And so a really good advice for that is record your footage. Record your gameplay. When you do something really good or really crazy, have it recorded. It makes it really easy for teams that are looking to pick up players to look at your footage, and they can immediately just like tell from your movement, from your decision making in the footage, how good of a player you are.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think right now that's going to give you the edge out of all the other players trying to go pro right now, because there's a lot of talented players right now, like mechanically and knowledge wise, right? There's a lot of those players out there that know it. So now it's just a question of how do you show it? And one of the best ways to show it is to just make footage, because you know,
I guess that would apply to being like a content creator as well then.
yeah, it will. Yeah, it can tie into content creation. Now, as far as content creation goes, so me as a content creator, that's not my biggest focus right now. My main focus is still as a competitive player. My content creation more so just comes from the fact that people like watching me for the competitive aspect of it, right? I don't like pump out like YouTube videos that are well edited, like on a daily content creation wise. I don't look like monitor my sub growth or my Twitch growth that closely as a content creator would. And so content creation wise, like I don't feel I'm too qualified, right, to give advice on that. But from what I have seen from other content creators in this space and what they do, the biggest thing that they always stress is consistency. Try and if you're not looking to upload every day, they're uploading consistently on a schedule, like one video every 2 or 3 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking to be a content creator, it's just all about that consistency. And the other thing that I see that they say a lot is don't let the numbers, you know, affect you.
Mm-hmm.
There's like with YouTube, that's where a big chance of growth is for this PUBG mobile game. A lot of it's on YouTube. I've followed these content creators now for like a year. There would be sometimes when they post something and they'll share it too on Twitter, right? They'll share like, dude, this week I'm literally gaining like 500 to 1,000 subs every week. And then there would be like 2 months where it's like they get like 50 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're not doing anything differently though. They're just consistently uploading. And sometimes, you know, you'll just get a lucky break. But you won't get that lucky break if you're not constantly, you know, doing the same thing over and over, like uploading. So sometimes it'll just pay off big. Sometimes it'll be, you know, a dead period. But if you don't let the numbers get to you too much and you just focus on the consistency, the results will show.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice. That's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. We could use this time for anything that you missed or anything you just want to talk about, and then give any shout outs that you have.
Anything that I missed? Um, Honestly, I can't think of anything much. I feel like we covered almost everything.
Yeah, we did
in
cover a
this.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. Your questions were great. So, um, yeah, I can't think of anything we missed. As far as shout outs go, I do want to give a special shout out to my girlfriend, also my manager. Uh, and when I say manager, like she's like an official manager, like she's being paid and she works really hard to do our scheduling for our, you know, practice for our scrims. She also, like, anytime we go out to an event, since she knows Chinese, she's the one in contact with all the Tencent officials, like getting, you know, flight dates, getting accommodations sorted out, making sure we sign all the correct forms. Like you can imagine, traveling comes a lot with, you know, paperwork and logistics and stuff like that. And she's been really supportive from me from the start. Uh, there is something I did miss. You asked how I got into mobile gaming. That's also due to my girlfriend. I've told this story before. a lot of my fans have heard this story too, but for the people that haven't heard, so I've always been a gamer, and when I met my girlfriend, we would game together as just pass time to bond together. And at that time, we were playing on our computers, right, mouse and keyboard, because I never got into mobile gaming at this point yet. And so we would game on the mouse and keyboard. We would play, PC games here and there. And then one day she was at a rave, and she was sitting on a railing, and someone accidentally bumped into her and knocked her off the railing. So when she fell, she stuck out her hand to catch her fall, but it kind of landed wrong, and she dislocated her elbow. Yeah, it was pretty bad. We had to go to the hospital and everything, and because she dislocated her elbow, though, like you can imagine with a mouse and keyboard, she dislocated her. Was it your right arm? Yeah, her right arm, which was the arm she used on the mouse. So when you're using a mouse, there's a lot of elbow movement. So she cannot do that at all with the injury, right? Like using a mouse was like out of the question. And also because she was really badly injured, she had to rest in bed a lot. And so you can imagine we're in bed together for a big period of the day. What else are we going to do in bed? We're on our phones. And so that just naturally led to, hey, we could find some games on the phone maybe. And literally, like, I think it was like the very next day or like 2 days after she dislocated her elbow, PUBG Mobile came out on the phone. Because I remember when I was like one of the very first to play the game, because they literally had just released it, and it was like very recent from her, dislocating her elbow. And so we were playing PUBG Mobile together. And honestly, if she didn't dislocate her elbow when she did, I don't know if I would have like picked up on.
Maybe none of this would have ever happened.
Yeah, there's a good chance. There's also a chance of what I see, like maybe I do play PUBG Mobile, but like later, right? I would imagine we would still be playing our PC games, and very rarely when we do get on the phone, maybe I'll browse the phone a little bit, but I could imagine I'd be skipping over the whole PUBG Mobile thing, like for an extended period of time before I actually download it and play it. And by then, you miss a huge. I would have missed that huge opportunity of being one of the few people early on in the scene, right? That's always a huge advantage to when a new game comes out. If you're looking competitive in it, that's the best time to start, right? And so, yeah, big shout outs to her, not just for me getting into PUBG Mobile, but for how supportive she's been since I got into the scene.
That's amazing. All right, I think that's gonna wrap it up. Thanks for being on the show. I am Legacy for Critical Points and The Climb, and for ZooTay saying thanks for watching and peace.
Yeah, thank you guys.